Picture this. You're walking through the Nigerian countryside in 1928, and you stumble upon something that will completely rewrite what the world thinks it knows about ancient Africa. What you find challenges every assumption about who mastered iron first, who created the most sophisticated art, and who built the foundations of civilization itself. What if I told you that while Europe was still fumbling around in the Bronze Age, there was an African civilization so advanced they were forging iron tools, creating masterpiece sculptures, and building complex societies that would make their contemporaries look like they were living in the Stone Age? Now, I know what you're thinking. Here we go with another feel-good story about African history. But hold up, because what I'm about to share with you isn't just feel-good history. This is an archaeological fact that's been carbon-dated, peer-reviewed, and verified by some of the world's most respected institutions. And honestly, it's so incredible that even the scientists who discovered it couldn't believe what they were looking at. See, most people think ironworking started in the Middle East around 1500 BCE, and then slowly spread to other parts of the world. That's the conventional story we've all been told. But what if that story is incomplete? What if Africa wasn't just receiving technology from other continents, but was actually pioneering it? In this video, I'm going to take you on a journey into one of Africa's greatest mysteries, the Nok Culture. We're going to explore how they mastered ironworking 2,800 years ago, created art so sophisticated it rivals anything from ancient Greece or Rome, and then disappeared so completely that we're still trying to figure out what happened to them. And I'll show you the recent archaeological evidence that proves this civilization was far more advanced than anyone ever imagined. But here's the thing that's going to blow your mind, and I've got the carbon dating to prove it. Let me take you back to that day in 1928. A British mining engineer named Colonel J.D. Dent Young was supervising tin mining operations in a small village called Nok, about 90 miles southwest of Jos in Nigeria. His workers were using high-pressure water hoses to wash away soil, looking for tin deposits, when something extraordinary happened. The water pressure revealed what looked like a human head, perfectly sculpted from terracotta clay. But this wasn't just any sculpture. The artistry was so refined, so sophisticated, that Young immediately knew he was looking at something special. The eyes were distinctively triangular with perforations. The facial features were both realistic and stylized, and the craftsmanship was unlike anything he'd seen in that region. Now here's where it gets interesting. Young could have easily dismissed this as some recent tribal art and moved on with his mining operation. But something told him this was different. This was older. Much older. What Young had stumbled upon was evidence of a civilization that archaeologists now call the Nok Culture, and it would take decades before anyone realized just how significant this discovery really was. But here's the first mystery that had archaeologists scratching their heads. How do you date terracotta sculptures that are buried in the ground with no written records, no surrounding structures, and no clear archaeological context? For years, these sculptures remained a beautiful puzzle. Museums displayed them as examples of traditional African art, but nobody could pinpoint when they were made or what civilization created them. Some scholars guessed they might be 500 years old, others thought maybe 1,000 years. Nobody imagined they were looking at artifacts from one of the world's most advanced ancient civilizations. Then, in the 1960s, everything changed. Archaeologist Bernard Fagg began systematic excavations in the Nok region, and what he discovered would rewrite the history books. Using radiocarbon dating on charcoal found in the same layers as the terracotta sculptures, Fagg made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. These sculptures weren't 500 years old. They weren't even 1,000 years old. The Nok culture dated back to at least 900 BCE, making them over 2,800 years old. But that wasn't even the most incredible part. Mixed in with these sophisticated terracotta sculptures, Fagg's team found something that would challenge everything the world thought it knew about ancient metallurgy: iron tools. Not bronze tools. not copper tools. Iron tools. Now, let me put this in perspective for you. In 900 BCE, most of Europe was still in what we call the Iron Age's infancy. The Romans wouldn't found their republic for another 400 years. The Greeks were just beginning to emerge from their Dark Age. And here in West Africa, the Nok people weren't just using iron. They were masters at it. But here's what really got the archaeologists excited. When they excavated the iron smelting sites at Terracotta, one of the major Nok settlements, they found something that made them question everything they thought they knew about the spread of technology in the ancient world. The radiocarbon dating of charcoal from inside these iron furnaces revealed dates as far back as 280 BCE. But some evidence suggests ironworking in the region might go back even further, possibly to 1000 BCE or beyond. This means the Nok people were smelting iron at the same time as, or possibly even before, ironworking began in the Mediterranean. Think about what this means. The conventional story we've all been taught is that ironworking technology spread from the Middle East through trade routes, slowly making its way to other parts of the world. But the Nok evidence suggests something very different, that ironworking might have been independently developed in West Africa, without any influence from outside civilizations. And here's where the mystery deepens even further. The level of sophistication in Nok ironworking wasn't primitive or experimental. These people knew exactly what they were doing. They had mastered the complex process of heating iron or to over 2000 degrees Fahrenheit, removing impurities, and forging tools that were superior to anything their neighbors were making. But how did they figure this out? Ironworking is incredibly complex. You need to know which ores to use, how to build furnaces that can reach extreme temperatures, how to control airflow, how to remove slag, and how to forge the final product. These are skills that typically take generations to develop and perfect. Yet the earliest Nok iron we found shows a level of mastery that suggests they'd been doing this for a very long time. Where did they learn these techniques? Did they develop them independently? Or was there some earlier tradition of metallurgy in Africa that we haven't discovered yet? The archaeological evidence keeps pointing to something that challenges our basic assumptions about ancient African societies. Now, let's talk about their art, because this is where the Nok culture really shows its sophistication. These terracotta sculptures aren't just decorative objects. They're masterpieces that demonstrate a level of artistic achievement that rivals anything from ancient Egypt, Greece, or Rome. The most famous Nok sculptures are life-sized human heads and figures, but they also created intricate animal sculptures, elephants, monkeys, snakes, and other creatures that populated their world. What makes these sculptures remarkable isn't just their artistic beauty, but the information they contain about Nok society. Look closely at these sculptures, and you'll see incredible details about how these people lived. The hairstyles are elaborate and varied, suggesting a society where personal appearance and cultural identity were important. The jewelry and ornaments depicted on the figures show sophisticated metalworking and craftsmanship. The clothing and body modifications tell us about their cultural practices and social structures. But here's what's really fascinating. Many of these sculptures show evidence of scarification and body modification patterns that are still practiced by some West African cultures today. This suggests cultural continuity spanning nearly 3,000 years, a direct link between the Nok people and modern African communities. The artistic techniques used by Nok sculptors were incredibly advanced. They understood proportion. They could capture realistic facial expressions while maintaining stylistic consistency, and they had mastered the technical challenges of working with terracotta clay. The distinctive triangular or elliptical eyes with perforations weren't just an artistic choice. They served a practical purpose, allowing air to circulate inside the hollow sculptures during the firing process, preventing cracks, and ensuring the artwork would survive for millennia. But here's the question that haunts every archaeologist who studies the Nok culture. If they were so advanced, if they had mastered ironworking and created such sophisticated art, what happened to them? Around 200 CE, the archaeological record goes silent. The terracotta sculptures stop appearing. The iron smelting sites are abandoned. The Nok culture, which had flourished for over 1,000 years, simply vanishes from history. This disappearance is one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. We're not talking about a gradual decline or transformation into another culture. The Nok people seem to have vanished completely, leaving behind no written records, no clear successor civilizations, and no explanation for what happened to them. Some archaeologists theorize that climate change might have played a role. The Sahara was going through a major drying period around this time, which could have affected rainfall patterns and agricultural productivity in the Nok region. Maybe they were forced to migrate to more favorable areas. Others suggest that new populations moving into the region might have displaced or absorbed the Nok people. West Africa was experiencing significant population movements during this period, as Bantu-speaking peoples were expanding across the continent. But here's what's really puzzling. If the Nok people migrated or were absorbed by other cultures, why didn't their advanced ironworking techniques and artistic traditions continue? Why don't we see clear evidence of Nok influence in later West African cultures? It's as if an entire civilization, with all its knowledge and expertise, just evaporated into thin air. Recent archaeological discoveries are providing new clues about the Nok culture, but they're also raising even more questions. In 2013, archaeologists discovered a new Nok site at Ungwar, Kura that contained some of the most elaborate terracotta sculptures ever found. These weren't just heads and figures. They were complex narrative scenes showing multiple figures interacting with each other. One sculpture shows what appears to be a judicial scene, with figures that seem to be judges or elders presiding over some kind of legal proceeding. Another depicts what looks like a religious ceremony or ritual gathering. These discoveries suggest that Nok society was far more complex and organized than anyone had previously imagined. But here's what really got archaeologists excited about these new discoveries. The radiocarbon dating pushed the origins of the Nok culture even further back. Some of the charcoal samples from Ungwar Kura dated to around 1500 BCE, making the Nok culture potentially 3,500 years old. Think about what this means. While the ancient Egyptians were building their great pyramids, and while the Babylonians were creating their first law codes, the Nok people were developing their own sophisticated civilization in West Africa, complete with advanced metallurgy, complex social structures, and artistic traditions that would influence the region for over a millennium. And we're only just beginning to understand what they accomplished. But perhaps the most important thing about the Nok culture isn't just what they achieved. It's what their existence tells us about the nature of human civilization itself. For too long, we've been told that advanced civilizations developed in only a few places: Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and China, and then spread to other parts of the world through conquest, trade, or cultural diffusion. The Nok culture challenges this narrative. It shows us that human beings are capable of developing sophisticated societies independently, regardless of their geographic location or contact with other civilizations. It reminds us that innovation, creativity, and cultural achievement are universal human characteristics, not the exclusive domain of any particular region or people. When you look at those haunting Nok sculptures, with their distinctive triangular eyes staring across nearly 3,000 years of history, you're looking at evidence of human ingenuity and artistic vision that developed in Africa, by Africans, without any outside influence or inspiration. These sculptures are a testament to the creativity and sophistication of ancient African civilizations, and they stand as proof that Africa wasn't just a recipient of technology and culture from other continents. It was a creator and innovator in its own right. The Nok culture represents one of humanity's greatest achievements and one of our greatest mysteries. They mastered ironworking when most of the world was still using bronze and stone. They created art that rivals the greatest sculptures of ancient Greece and Rome. They built a complex society that lasted for over 1,000 years. And then they vanished, leaving behind only their magnificent terracotta sculptures as evidence of their existence. But maybe that's not entirely true. Maybe the Nok people didn't really vanish. Maybe their legacy lives on in the iron-working traditions that spread across West Africa. Maybe their artistic vision influenced the great bronze-working civilizations of Benin and Ife. Maybe their cultural practices survive in the traditions and customs of modern Nigerian peoples. The mystery of the Nok culture reminds us that Africa's history is full of sophisticated civilizations and remarkable achievements that we're only just beginning to understand. Every new archaeological discovery adds another piece to the puzzle, bringing us closer to understanding the true scope of African contributions to human civilization. These aren't just artifacts in a museum case. They're evidence of our shared human heritage, proof that creativity, innovation, and cultural achievement have always been part of the African story. The Nok people may have vanished from history, but their legacy lives on in every iron tool, every work of art, and every reminder that human civilization is far more complex, diverse, and remarkable than we ever imagined. The next time someone tells you that Africa was isolated from the mainstream of human development, that advanced civilizations only emerged in certain parts of the world, or that iron-working technology had to be imported from outside the continent, remember the Nok culture. Remember those haunting terracotta eyes that have been staring across millennia, bearing witness to one of humanity's greatest achievements and greatest mysteries. Remember that 2,800 years ago, in the heart of West Africa, there was a people so advanced, so sophisticated, and so remarkable that we're still trying to understand what they accomplished. The mystery of the Nok culture isn't just about the past. It's about recognizing the full scope of human potential and the rich, complex history that belongs to all of us. Their story challenges us to look beyond conventional narratives and discover the remarkable achievements that have been hidden in plain sight, waiting for us to uncover them and give them the recognition they deserve.